Welcome once again to Zen Minded Men. We're your hosts. I'm Sensei Art Gulley Jr.
I'm Sensei Vince Ellis, and our plan this week is to delve into the subject of respect and how, our roots of respect in the dojo and how that filters out into our everyday life.
When you look up the definition of respect, basically it's, I'm actually just going to read it. A feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. And the second definition is a due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others. Now, I think it's that second aspect that seems to be coming into play. I mean, naturally, when we're in the dojo, we're going to respect our teachers, our masters, other students who have great skill. But I think we're learning to respect the traditions of those teachings. And I think that's part of something that we need to carry out of the dojo as well. You know, we're in this tumultuous time now with so many people going at so many different things. If we can learn to respect each other's differences, each other's cultures, each other's opinions, I think it would go far into making this a better place to be. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I think one of the main problems is just an overall lack of respect for one another and, other things.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree or couldn't agree with you more. It seems like and the interesting thing for me is how the people with it, maybe I'll be honest, I'm more or less a conservative, probably a centralist, but definitely more toward the conservative views on social issues. But it seems like, I'll just throw this out there, the social left, the people who want to be the respect me for my choices group, disrespect the opposite side. And that's really come to a head here in the last few years. You look at what's going on in the West Coast, for example. You look at the situation in Portland or Seattle, what went on there with the so-called inclusive people. The first thing they wanted to do out there was build walls and exclude those that didn't have their point of view. So number one, lack of respect for the law that was set in place there in that area. It was more or less a grab, a takeover, not a violent takeover, but a takeover nonetheless. We've really lost sight of what it is to respect personal property, personal space, personal opinion. I mean, there's no reason why we can't. And you know what? There was a great example of what I'm about to say that happened with the presidential debate versus a vice presidential debate. Unfortunately, the presidential debate, I think, on both sides showed a complete lack of respect.
Complete lack of respect. Both sides were yelling and screaming and butting heads.
Cutting each other off. Got very personal. Both sides attacking on a personal basis, which, your personal choices and your ideology, they kind of go hand in hand in a sense, but that depends on the context of the conversation, right? We ought to be able to separate based on context. And again, bringing that back to the dojo, I think it's great that when we're in that environment, we kind of isolate ourselves from the outside world and deal with the respect on kind of a one-to-one basis. And that starts, really when you enter the building. You have a respect for what the dojo is. And I think we learned that very early and in our training there with Master Adams in the Southfield Dojo, that, this is a training hall. This is not a gym. When you enter this building, you're supposed to, have respect for the facility, bring in the proper mindset, and have yourself mentally and physically ready to do what needs to be done. And that is not only showing respect or for the building and what the building is, but then the next step would be respecting your teacher. When you're on the mat, you open your mind, close your mouth, have your lesson that's being given, and then respect what's being taught by submersing yourself into the activity. Don't be a distraction to the class by chatting with your fellow students, about whatever happened that day. We're here to train, so respect that activity, and like you said, the respect the history of what was going on by immersing yourself into that activity and giving it 100% effort.
And the curious dichotomy about that is we're in a place where it's going to get heated. Emotions are going to get high. When you're fighting, the adrenaline's pumping, but yet in the midst of that chaos, in the midst of battling it out, you still want to maintain respect for your opponent. You want to maintain respect for the technique they're throwing at you. You want to maintain respect for the techniques you're throwing at them. And you want to maintain respect that you're not injuring, because like you said, when you walk into the dojo, it is a place of training. It's not a place of go in and just do whatever you want to do and show everybody how good you are. No, it's a place of let me show you what I've been practicing, and let me respect you to let you show me what you've been practicing. And that's it's really curious how in the most heightened places, in the heat of battle, or a place where you would think that tempers are gone and adrenaline's gone and hormones and everything else, our core is teaching us how to respect the moment, how to respect everything around us. This is a fight, but I'm going to respect the rules of this fight. Now in the dojo, there are rules, so I will respect that. Outside of the dojo, there are no rules. There's survival, and I will respect that. Now, if you're attacking me, if you become a threat, I'm going to respect the fact that you're a threat. And now any respect I had for your life is gone, because you put my life, you just told me you don't respect my life. You don't respect my ideas, my opinions, my family. So in that case, I'm losing respect for you. And when that happens, it's time to go to work. But before that happens, I'm going to try to show you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to try to diffuse the situation. I'm going to respect that you have someone you want to go home to. I have someone I want to go home to. And I think what we're seeing is in a lot of these movements and in a lot of these, these protests and everything else, neither side is respecting that this person that you're protesting and yelling and shouting, you're not respecting their right to voice their opinion. You're not respecting their right to live a certain lifestyle. You're not respecting their right to enjoy the freedoms that our country has to offer. You're not respecting the general human right to just live at peace. And in order to do that, you have to, first of all, respect yourself. If I have respect for myself, it's going to be easy for me to show respect for you. If I just got a devil may care, I don't give a damn attitude, then I can't expect you to respect me. And I'm definitely not going to respect you, because I can respect myself enough to carry myself in a personable manner. And I think that it's very easy to lose sight of that. Like you said, let's take it to the dojo. When you walk in the dojo, you see some of these guys in there, they've been training 20, 30 years, okay? You've got to respect that. Now, maybe they don't move as good as they once did. Maybe they're not as quick on the draw, but the knowledge they have and the technique they're showing you, I still got to respect the time and effort you've put into this. I can't just come in and say, well, I'm the new breed and look out. No, I've got to respect that this has been handed down generation after generation after generation. And I've got to respect, like you say, the spirit of the dojo itself. It is a training hall, but it's not just training me how to fight. It's also training me how to live, how to conduct myself. And that, to me, is one of the best things we get from the dojo, is the learning of how to respect not only yourself, but those around you in your environment. And that's what's missing in the world.
Absolutely. And yeah, again, um, it's interesting though. Again, I work for a Japanese company, so that has enabled me to kind of delve a little deeper into the mind of Bushido, so to speak. Although not everybody that I work with have been martial artists, but just to understand the Japanese culture. I mean, they take respect to a much higher level than we've done in the United States, and I think that comes with um, just the way their society is modeled versus ours. And we're big on freedom here in the United States, and that's not a bad thing when it's done correctly. Freedom without respect is just, anarchy and chaos without respect for one another. But just going back to, working with my Japanese uh, coworkers, they have a deep respect for certain job. The whole hierarchy. The Japanese society is basically still a caste system. They're getting away from that, but for it's they're still very, very, you know locked into that whole caste system. So one example of that, but in my early career, and this is crazy, but it I'm an engineer, so I'm looked at with a certain amount of respect, or a pecking order, as an engineer within a company. So there was a Japanese sales representative that would come and call on us and sell us tools. Primarily tools was, cutting tools for machining equipment is what our business was with him. But he would come to my desk, and during our conversation, this was really weird, but he would always make sure his head was lower than mine. you know if I didn't stand up to speak to him, he would make sure he dropped below my level. And that's just a physical way that they show respect in their culture.
Firm
The
to authority.
bowing, a submissive act of bowing in the dojo, bow lower than your superior. But it's just weird in that way. But they have a respect for elders, which I think we've lost a lot in this country.
Yes.
And to me, that is such a great resource, is our elderly people.
They're our
uh,
history.
our history, exactly. I love to talk to older folks about times gone by. What was life like, what back then.
Hmm.
And especially here in southeastern Kentucky, because it was very different, you know, in uh, in the 40s and 50s and even the 60s than the life that we're living here today. Uh, but having been to Japan several times and watch how they operate, it's just really, really neat. They have the whole, even the word sensei. We introduce ourselves as sensei. We're used to that title in our karate culture, and we typically associate that with teacher. But the literal translation for the word sensei is simply one who comes before,
Hmm.
somebody with more experience, and that's to be respected. You know, they have they call it the kohai senpai relationship. Senpai being senior, kohai being junior, and it's really more akin to like a journeyman. Uh, senpai being the journeyman and the kohai being the
The apprentice.
the apprentice. Yeah, and that passing on of knowledge from the elder, the one with more experience, to the younger. And it deals with, I mean, it's all about respect. You don't get the back talk. um, when we have certain high level folks come from our corporate, our international corporate agencies that come, the way that those people are treated. They're Asians, they're Japanese, but when they come, it's funny because it's like a little train that goes through the plane. you know but you can visually see how, you know it's a good visualization of what respect is. And, for us, and I say us as Americans, we're just almost the opposite. We almost mock it, is like, you know what, this is America. That guy puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like I do. And you know what? We're right. It's not that he's better or that value, his human value is that great, but we should respect what got him to the position that he's in.
Yes.
He's
His
not there by
effort.
accident, whether I like this guy or know this guy.
He's done something to merit my respect because he has climbed the ladder and he's achieved this level of success. So
Yep,
I should respect that.
he's there for a reason.
Mhm.
He's there for a reason. And even in again, going back to our culture here in the United States today, we've really lost sight of that. We have very little respect for our leaders, whether we agree with their policies or not. It appears, and I'm a person. I'll be honest too. It's difficult for me sometimes to give blanket respect simply because of a title or something like that. Um, if I know the person has shown otherwise. So, but upon meeting somebody, whether I like them or not, if I'm meeting a person of authority, I'm always going to start off treating them with respect. If they give me a reason to disrespect them, then maybe that'll change. But, my initial encounters with people are always going to be, with respect.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned respecting person for a position or title. I know in the dojo, out of the dojo, one of the things in the dojo, and I know you've traveled extensively on the tournament circuit. You've done way more tournaments than I have. But when we go to different dojos and you do tournaments, you meet open systems and you meet people with the titles of master or sensei. And if you introduce yourself as that to me, I'm going to give you the respect. However, as we conversate, as we train, as we talk technique, you're going to show real quickly if you've earned that title. And unfortunately, in our systems, not just Ishinru, but as we like to say in the McDojo world, a lot of people have rank, but they don't have knowledge. And I can't respect the rank if you don't have the knowledge. Because when I'm in the dojo, I'm not respecting, I'm not respecting your rank. I'm respecting your knowledge. Now, if you come to me with a rank, I'm going to assume you have the knowledge. But if I start talking with you and we kumitain or we discussing technique and movement and principles, and you're not there, then I'm going to lose respect because I'm saying, okay, I don't know how you got this, but you didn't earn it the proper way. You can't set up here, and you should be ashamed that you're presenting yourself as high above this, but yet you can't even help anyone. I feel the same way in a job situation. There's oftentimes people get promoted. Let's face it, nepotism, it's sexism. It's a part of life. It's a horrible part of life. But I see it at the plant all the time. All the time. You have certain jobs like the inspector jobs or the what do they call that? Validators, that kind of stuff. And oftentimes some of these jobs will go to the foreman likes the way a lady looks. So you have one guy who's been there 15 years, busted his ass on the line every day. Then you have this lady who comes in, she's been there maybe 6 months, and she's got the body of Wonder Woman, but she has no knowledge of the plant. She has no manufacturing skills. She knows nothing about our product, but because the supervisor wants to chat her up, he's going to promote her. I'm going to let you do this easy job and not even offer it to the person who's earned it. Now, I can't blame the recipient of the reward. I can't blame the lady for that because she's just doing her thing. I lose respect for the boss who does that because you've lost respect for the knowledge and experience of your workers, and that's what it should be. If you're in a position of authority, you've got to respect those below you. And if you can't do that, if you start abusing your authority, I'm going to lose respect for you. I respect the office, the institution of the president. I respect the office and for what it stands for as far as America. I do not respect our president right now. I'm sorry, I do not, because he has shown me time and time again that he does not respect us as a country. You know, a simple thing. The country's in a pandemic. Everyone's scared. Everyone's protesting. Everyone doesn't want to wear a mask. As the leader of the free world, the one thing you could have did was put on a mask and say, even if you said, people, I don't want to wear this thing, but if our scientists are saying this will save our lives, out of respect for their knowledge, I'm going to put on this mask and I'm going to urge you to do so too. But you didn't do that. You make mockeries of everything. You double talk everything. It's back and forth. Now you have COVID and you still don't want to wear a mask.
I
So,
don't either.
you know, I wear mine. I'm just sorry, you know,
I know.
I wear mine. And I'm a person of high anxiety. When my sinuses drip, I panic. I'm like, am I coughing? You know, my sinuses are a little backed up today. So I'm in my mind. I'm like, have I been exposed? You know, we wash everything. But I've got to respect the situation at hand. If you're telling me there's a gas leak, don't light a fire, don't light a match in a 10-foot radius. I've got to respect that you know what you're talking about. And whether I agree or not, whether I smell the gas or not, I'm going to say, okay, you're telling me this. You've shown me ample evidence of this. I'm going to respect that. If our politicians can't respect what their constituents are telling them, and not just Democrats, Republicans too, okay? I go either way. There are some Democrats who I think just need to be bitch slapped. And there are some Republicans who I feel the same way. But if neither side can respect the beliefs or experience of the other, then you said before, we have anarchy. And you take it a step further than that. Respect carries over so much. Respect matters so much in a marriage. You've been married, I think you said you just celebrated 30 years.
Yes.
30, I just celebrated 29. And you've got to have respect for your spouse. You've got to have respect for what you bring to the table and respect for what she brings to the table. An interesting thing happened to me just the other day. Now we're back working and we're working the 11 hours and you know it's crazy. So when I get home, I'm just I'm gone. You know, I'm gone. My body's wiped out. I'm older now. The machines aren't working right. Injuries. I'm wiped out. Okay. My wife asked me. She had been taking the kids running around most of the day, and she asked me to take one of our kids to his band practice. And she says, you know, because I've been doing this and I've kind of been out all day. And I looked at her and said, well, I've been gone all day too. And she looked right back at me and she says, yeah, the difference is when you come home from work and this, you sit down. I don't. And at that point, I realized I had lost respect for her efforts. Okay, yeah, my job is hard. Ain't no joke. It's beating me down. But that doesn't give me the right to lose sight of the respect that, okay, yeah, maybe she's not on the line putting up, 80-pound tires, but she's cooking, cleaning, running the kids, taking care of her moms, fielding the phone calls, making the appointments. You know what? Yeah, now she's out grocery shopping. Yeah, she's working hard. Yeah, her mentals are tired. So in that sense, I lost respect for her effort. And I felt like, you know what? I should know better. As a martial artist, I should know better. As a man, I should know better. As a husband, I should know better. So I got my butt up, threw on my clothes, got my cane, let my butt down, took my kid to that, took him to practice. But I couldn't really face her because I felt this is terrible. After all these years, she should not have had to even bring that up, because she respects me. I get up in the morning, my lunch is made. You know, I wash my clothes. I may forget about them. I get up. She's got them hung up for me, in spite of whatever else she's doing. So I've got to remember. I tell the kids that too. Respect your mom's time, okay? But it's so easy to lose sight of it. And to me, one of the things that when I realize I've lost respect for someone's teaching, someone's knowledge, it really makes me feel. It hurts me because I know I've hurt them, but it hurts me because I don't want to be that type of person who does that. And that's what, when I get back to having respect for yourself, have a respect for how you make a person feel, have respect for how you make a person respond to you is so important. And as we go down this list, for those who are not aware, we are going down the virtues of Bushido. We did integrity. We're doing today is respect. There are 7 of them. That's one thing that the samurai, who were warriors, they practiced the art of killing. Let's be clear on it. But they had a respect for life as well, not just living it, but also allowing you to live it. And that's something that we can take out of the dojo and put in society. If our politicians can start having a respect for their constituents, the world would change, you know. If the majority can have a little bit of respect for the minority and their struggles, it could change. If sometimes the minorities too, I kind of have to have respect. I talk to different people all day long. There's contractors in, you know, whatever. I've met so many people, a lot of whites, all different colors. Sometimes when you're talking to a white person, as me being a black man, they just don't get it. But I can't be angry for them because if I had grown up in a world where basically in a country where I have no natural predators because I'm on top of the food chain, I have every opportunity in a degree because no one's looking at the color of my skin saying, nope, not even coming in. Maybe I wouldn't get it either. Like, why are you so upset, man? What's the world so bad about? But I have to respect their ignorance on the subject. Okay. I have to respect that you are not going to understand some things I've gone through. But on the converse, I got to respect that I am not going to understand what you, as a white man, what some of your challenges have been. You see what I'm saying? Because I know you've had them as well. But for
Yeah.
me to assume that, nah, dude, you white, you got to, I can't do that. There's a breakdown in community. True, I want you to respect my struggle, but I've also got to respect your struggles. Whether they're as great or lesser, who's to decide? But that's the fundamental problem we have here. No one is respecting the other person's position on it. Okay. If you want me to learn something, respect the knowledge that I have and respect my understanding of it, then you can approach me and say, okay, you don't get this. Let me tell you why you don't get it. And this is my point of view. Now it's my turn to say, oh, wow, I did not see it from that point. So I got to show you the respect of considering your point, listen to what you're telling me. But if I'm just blah, 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 dismissing you out of habit, you know, that's not respect. I'm not respecting you and I'm not respecting me and I'm not respecting the opportunity that's being presented to me. And you talk about the Japanese culture. Years back, Chrysler tried to adapt Japanese philosophy. And we were having meetings of how the Japanese do things and how the this and we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And when we had the big meeting, you know, at the Union Hall, all this, I kind of raised my hand and I told him, I said, you know, it's funny you all are trying to push a model on a group of people who have no concept of tradition and culture like that. I said the Japanese model works because it is ingrained in them. Their society is built upon a foundation of culture and tradition and respect. America is built upon a tradition of I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to make it better. I'm going to do me. That's what America was founded on. People came to this country because they didn't like where they were being oppressed, and they said, I'm gonna make a better life, and you're not gonna tell me different. And that's great. But at some point, when you come to this country, what people seem to forget is a lot of the Italian immigrants, the French immigrants, all the immigrants came. Yeah, they wanted a better life. Yeah, they're getting away from the old world. But what did they bring with them? Knowledge, traditions. And that knowledge and traditions built America. So if I start discarding that, then it's okay to hold on to my traditions and knowledge. It's not disrespecting you because I'm holding on to my traditions, just like you're not disrespecting me because you're holding on to yours. The disrespect comes when I look at your tradition and say, no, you got to let that go. You're here now. One of the things that really bugs me is we have a very large Arabic culture, Middle Eastern culture. And I do agree when you're in America, when you're any country you go to, you should learn the language. I'm just sorry, that's a personal feeling. If I'm going to France or something, I'm going to try to have a rudimentary knowledge of the language because I'm showing respect to the country. But I'm not going to expect you to give up your culture. I'm not going to say, unwrap your face, you're in America now. You know, I'm not going to say, don't talk to your kids and that you speak English all the time because you're in America. No, respect my country and respect our culture by learning our customs, but hold on to yours. And that's one of the things that bugs me. No matter what happens, this is supposed to be the melting pot, but melting doesn't mean you lose sight of that. When you make a big pot of stew, you put all these flavors in it, they all blend, but you can still taste each individual flavor.
That's the point, right? I mean, honestly,
Yeah,
that's the point when
yeah.
I mean, I think culinary examples are great because I love food. I'm a big, I
Oh,
love to
me too.
travel. I love to travel and I do like to taste cultural foods. I don't want to go to McDonald's in 12 countries. That's not my
Exactly.
goal. But, so when I do travel, I like to taste local cuisine and find those unique tastes and those unique notes. But yeah, it's nuts. And you know what? The examples that you give, I know you're in a much more diverse area uh, where you're at than I am here now. But having been there, I completely relate to what you're saying, and it's not uh, it's not a fair for us as Americans to ask any immigrant that comes into this country to disregard their heritage or their culture. Conversely, you know, you had reasons for leaving wherever the heck you came from. Don't expect us to turn this country into whatever that was, you know. So there's shared spaces. You know, I think
Yeah.
I respect your right to run your household the way you see fit. You know, in your home, do your thing. You know, that's your house. When we're in shared spaces, we need to have respect for the shared spaces. You know, respect one another, and you know, we keep using the word respect, but like you defined in the beginning, you know, I don't have the right to attack you personally because of the way, for things that you have no control of, right? I can't attack you because the way you look. I can't attack you because the way, you know, the way your voice sounds or something like that. You have absolutely no control over that. Those are things, you know, that would be very disrespectful for me to do that. And your ideology is your ideology. As long as we can have an intelligent conversation about it, we should have enough respect for each other to do that.
Hmm.
But you're right, it starts with, and something we really haven't talked about yet, but the root, you can't respect anybody else or anybody else's ideas if you don't have self-respect.
Hmm.
If I don't recognize the value of me as a person, as a soul, then I can't in turn, it would be foolish to think that I could in turn uh, somehow comprehend the value of somebody else. And we lose sight of that. You know, I think you said several times, you know, even on your rants about, you know, the presentation. We'll call it personal presentation, right? People walking around, you've made note of it, but like with your pants hanging off your hips, you know, that's, I'm sorry, to most people, to the majority of people, that that just looks bad.
Stupid.
Yeah, it looks
It
stupid.
looks stupid.
Now,
It's disrespectful. You're showing half your ass and your draws. You're disrespecting. This lady could be your mother or grandmother, sister. Do you want some man showing half his butt to them? You get real offended really quick. You
yeah,
know, pull your pants up.
yeah,
Don't
it just looks,
stop
yeah,
cussing.
right. The white boy version of that where I'm at is, you know, these guys walking around with torn up nasty jeans and their pant legs tucked in their boots. You know,
Hmm.
just all I see is lazy. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have enough energy to dress yourself, or you know, there's there's zero reason why a person can't get up and clean themselves up in the morning. You might not have the best clothes in the world,
That's right.
but you know, you should respect yourself enough to get to take care of your personal hygiene. Number one, you know, at least keep your clothes clean. I don't care if they got holes in them. I don't care that they don't have a maker's name on them or whatever. You know,
As long as they're clean. Soap is one of the cheapest
do
things
your
on the planet.
best, right? Do your best. Respect yourself. Do your best. Respect yourself. And if you can ingrain that into yourself, then it's easy for you to then in turn show that to other people. You know, of course, in our culture, in our dojo culture, we were very fortunate. Uh, again, on the mat, I didn't call you Art. You didn't call me Vince. You know, I called you Mr. Gulley. You called me Mr. Ellis. We called our teachers Mr., Mrs., or like by their rank. You know, whether it was sensei, whether it was a master, a grandmaster, whatever. Uh, we always showed respect to that on the mat, uh, and that filters out into your daily life, I've noticed with the young men that I work with, they just happen to be men. Um, I'm very, it, I call people by the same thing outside the dojo, typically that I do inside the dojo. So a lot of my employees, I call Mr. or Mrs. or whatever, and people, I just do that. And I've noticed that even the younger guys pick up on that. So when they talk to me, it's yes, sir, no, sir. You know, our conversations are very cordial in that manner. I'm not saying, we still work in a plant environment. They may get off in left field every now and then, but, you know, they still respect who I am and they treat me with respect. Same, just simple kindnesses go a long way. Holding doors for people, things of that nature.
Yes. The
Moments,
smallest thing.
smallest things. Just respecting that, just the fact that that person's there. Respecting the fact that that person's there.
And I have a problem with that. Have you noticed in more and more, one of my really pet peeves is I like to hold the door for ladies. I was taught to do that. And it seems like in our culture, a lot of, I don't know, I don't want to cause a conflict here, but a lot of ladies, I don't need you to hold the door for me. I know you don't need me to. I'm holding the door because one, you're walking towards it. I'm front. I want to show you the respect and say, hey, come on in. It's not about trying to showing respect is not about we mistake showing respect, showing courtesy. We kind of mistake that sometimes we're trying to usurp your power or devalue your worth. That's not what it's about. I'm showing respect to you because I respect your worth, because I value. I'm not trying to say you're substandard. I'm trying to say you are equal to or greater than me. Allow me to show my respect for you by opening this door, allowing you to go first. When I'm at work now, because of my hip, I have a very hard time going up the stairs. So when breaks come, especially with social distancing, you want to keep your distance. So many people, when we get to the stairs, I step aside and everyone's like, what are you doing? I tell them, I said, I have a bad hip and I can't get up there that quick. And they say, oh, thank you for that respect. I appreciate that because I respect the fact that we only got so many minutes to get up to this bathroom with everything social distancing. We got to keep our distance, do this. I'm not going to slow it down. I'm not going to put my personal problem. I'm not going to disrespect your time by doing that. And to me, that's just one little way that in your own personal, you can show that respect. If you know when you're in the bank line, for instance, you know you don't have your stuff ready. Get your stuff ready. If you're in a grocery store, you know you're not ready. Don't disrespect everyone else's time by being silly in the line or doing whatever. It's those little bitty acts of courtesy, respect, whatever you want to call it. That's what makes this world a better place if we could do it. We learned that at the dojo. Now, like, again, dichotomy is my favorite word. It's a curious dichotomy. When someone falls in life, you want to help them up. In the dojo, when you fall, don't help them up. If someone offers you their hand and that person on the ground takes it, kick them, okay? Because you got to learn to get up on your own. However, if
Yeah.
the person is hurt in the dojo, they're going to help you up.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it teaches you one thing, but at the same time, that respect we learn, that respect when you're in a tournament. One of the things that's really funny in a tournament, you're in the heat of a battle and you score, a killer point, and you hurt your opponent. You are made to go to the other side of the mat, turn around and kneel and wait. You got to respect that person's injury, respect the time that it takes. Then once it's okay, you get up and you resume, you can continue fighting. Now, if the person's injured, you can still hit them there. It doesn't matter because, hey, you okay. But initially in the heat of battle, you showing that respect. In the most chaotic situations, a little respect can really make it a little less chaotic. And that's what's funny. That's what I love about karate. You are often thrown in intense, chaotic situations. But let's be honest. A fight is chaos. It's controlled chaos, but it's
Controlled
chaos.
chaos.
The techniques you're flowing at that point, your mind is chaos. You're controlling it, but there's thought after thought after thought because you're constantly responding to whatever's coming at you. But in the midst of that chaos, you're still showing respect. One of the way I'm respecting the distance between you and me. I know from this distance, I can do this. I know at this distance, you can do that. I'm respecting that distance. Okay. Every little aspect of life is depending upon showing some modicum of respect. When you walk into a restaurant, I respect the person that's greeting me, seating me at my table. It bothers me when people just, they don't respect their waiters. They don't respect the wait staff. This person is here to serve you food. This person is here to make you feel important because I'm going to serve you. I'm going to respect that and I'm going to appreciate that. I'm not going to get mad with the waiter because my dish is wrong. I'm not going to get mad with the chef. I'm going to say, okay, this is what we ordered. This is what we got. Now, if there's a problem, then I'm going to lose a little bit of respect and then you're going to hear about it. But I'm still not going to sit there, yell, cuss, scream. That's stupid. Because at that point, I'm disrespecting everybody else who's there trying to have a good time. See, that whole lack of self-respect, one of the things that I see on Facebook when I go on there is the posts, and I'm sure you've seen them, where they'll show like a group of young black men in the 50s dressed in suits, and then they show a group now dressed like thugs, or a group of young white ladies dressed in nice dresses, and then they show them the hoochie shorts and all of that. And it says, how do we go from this to this? And it's like that lack of core respect. A young lady, if you want to be taken seriously, you got to work 3 times as hard in a man's world. It's a horrible, horrible truth, but it's true. A lady should have the right to wear whatever she wants to wear. I agree. But at the same time, respect the reality of the world you live in. If you come out with your cleavage extremely exposed and shorts hugging your behind, you are going to get looked at a different way. Okay? It's wrong. I wish we could change it, but you've got to respect the reality and respect yourself and say, I don't want you looking at me that way. I don't want you viewing me that way because I'm worth more than just something to look at. You can dress attractively without being provocative all the time. Same thing with a guy. You don't have to drape yourself in crazy jewels and this and that, and your hair's all nappy or whatever, and then go out and get mad because a black man walks into a store and the clerk kind of looks at him and kind of doesn't want to let him out of his sight. Well, look how you look. Your pants are falling off, your hands in your pocket, your hood's all pulled up. You got a very suspicious, you don't respect yourself enough to be upright, upstanding. Show this person, hey, I'm respecting myself. I'm not trying to steal from you. And you wonder why there's so many misconceptions around people from all races, for everything. There's so much confusion because so many people lack the respect for themselves and they lack the respect for others. It's really sad that with the vice presidential debate, the one thing that's ringing clear on that, the one thing that's drawing so much attention is the fly.
Yeah.
That was on. Okay, I get it. The man had a fly on his head. That's creepy. But we're showing such disrespect to the process of democracy. What did they talk about? Can you tell me what they talked about? No, but you can tell me about that fly.
Yeah.
We're showing disrespect to the process of democracy. We're showing disrespect to the struggle that it took to get us to this point. Okay. The whole term of democracy, if you want to take it back, it really starts when you take it all the way back to Leonidas in the 300, when Persia was trying to impose their rule, and the Spartans, the Athens, the Greece, their democratic ways, they stood up to it. That's the foundation of democracy, which we've carried on. You're showing disrespect to that process. If, okay, we're not caring about what they're saying, we're more focused on what they're looking at, what's on their head, how they're, we're not focused on the issues. And that's not just with the vice president, it's with so many things. So many times we're worried about what the actor's wearing or what the politicians were saying, how they dressed. What did they say? What did they present to you? How did they come at that knowledge? We're not respecting the process of democracy. And it's got our country crazy. It's got our country crazy.
And I'm not, again, going back to our current political environment is exactly that, chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on both sides. I am, like I said, conservative. I said that earlier. And
mm-hmm.
Not that I don't think Donald Trump and I would probably hang out, and be friends. But I do respect the fact that he's in that position. And this is my opinion, and I voted for Donald Trump, and the reason I did was because he wasn't a politician. Mm-hmm. I have lost respect for or career politicians. You know, I don't think this country was founded on the ideas that public service was to be a lifetime, career.
A career.
Career. It's not a career. Our early politicians were servants. Like we talked about a samurai. In the beginning, it was one who served. They call it public service, right?
For a reason.
But we got these people that go to Washington and make 30-year, 40-year careers on both sides of the aisle. And I like the idea of a person in office. I don't care necessarily what side of the aisle they come from, but someone who has shown the ability to complete a project and be successful. Here's my problem with the current situation. I am not a registered Republican. I'm an independent. Just politics and respect. I want to see the best person in the position to do the job. I tend to align myself more with the conservative ideology, but with Joe Biden and his current situation, one of the things that I didn't respect about where we're at right now, and this has nothing to do with Kamala Harris as a person, but if I am vying for a position and I negate 97% of the population when I make a choice, to me, that's a poor decision. So he lost a lot of respect from me. I'm speaking about Joe Biden. He lost a lot of respect from me when he said my vice presidential candidate will be a minority woman. Why would you not want the best person possible? I'm not saying that she's not. She may very well be. But if I don't interview or open the possibilities to everything else, what did I do there? Was that really a wise decision? Again,
Because what you've shown me is that you
Yeah.
didn't choose her for her qualifications. You chose her for the fact that she is a minority woman.
Yes. Now, she may be qualified. I'm not saying she's not. I'm just saying that based on what was presented, that's a decision I can't respect.
Right.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
can agree with that.
That's a decision that I can't respect. Now, if he'd have had a dozen candidates laid out there and they were, they may all been black women. I don't know. But there was some other,
There's other criteria you should
other
have
criteria. Yeah,
put
let's
forward.
look at this. And she's in political service. She was one of the front runners for, the nomination of the Democratic Party. But I think as a country, those are the things that should concern us.
Right.
When our leaders make those kinds of decisions, that's why we lose respect for the people in those offices.
Right.
It's crazy when they do that.
It's funny too, because you take it back to the last election. When I voted for Obama, I didn't vote for him because he was black. I had never heard of the man. I'm gonna be honest. I don't follow politics as good as it should, but initially when they said, "Oh, Obama, you got to vote for him," I said, "Well, what does he do? Who is he? What's his stance? Don't matter. He's black. Vote for him." Like, wait, whoa. You can't do that. Because here in Detroit, Kwame was black and he was from my school. And you see how that turned out. And I believed in Kwame the first term. I believed in what he had to say. I believed in his message and I voted for him. And you totally let me down. So no. I got to know what you stand for. So once I weighed the pros and the cons and I saw the platform, I said, okay, I think Barack Obama is going to be the best choice for this country. Okay. Now, if I had just said, and I think it disrespects the candidate if you just say, yeah, we're voting for you. If she becomes our vice president, if you're qualified, and I'm doing my research on everybody too, because even President Trump, everything he says, even though I do not care for that man, and I did not vote for that man, and I'm not going to vote for him, I still listen to what he says, and I try to look at what he's presenting. I try to look at why he's presenting the packages, because I want to see, well, is this actually a good thing? Because he still has the office of the president, and I still have to respect his authority because he's the president. I respect the office. But when you come to the point where this is this and I'm here, that's going to follow you well, she's the vice president. If she does a miraculous job, if she fosters a peace with other nations that's unheard of, if she brings about, a Pax Romana type situation here, it will always kind of be overshadowed by the fact that, well, she wouldn't even got in there because people always think, well, he chose her because she was a minority woman.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a reverse affirmative action. Affirmative action was necessary because there were so many minorities who were getting shafted. But then it gets to the point where we're going to hire you because you're black and we got to fill this quota. You lost sight of what affirmative action was trying to do. We're trying to get quality people into quality jobs. I've seen instances, I have worked with instances that a black person was put in a position and was not qualified. A white person was not and was qualified. And I know the only reason you're in this position is because you're black. Now, we definitely need affirmative action measures. We definitely need legislations that say, hey, you need to look at this minority's credentials. To me, if a black man comes in with the master's degree, summa cum laude, an Asian woman comes in with the master's degree, summa cum laude, and a white man comes in with the master's degree, summa cum laude, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the white man because that's our culture. It is. It's a fact. It's been proven. It's a fact.
More of us.
But 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 that's the problem. Not there's more of you, but that's starting to decline.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, you would look up and say, okay, the white man has done this, but he's got only 6 years. The black man has done this, he's got 10 years. The Asian woman has done this, she's got 15 years, plus she's done this and this. She's going to be the person I'm going to hire. Now that is what affirmative action should be about, and it should be. But a lot of times the corporations, they want to abuse the affirmative action issue. They want to cheapen it. And that's why it comes up against so much controversy because you're sometimes not getting a quality person. You're just getting a person to fill that position because they're a woman, because they're a minority. And that's like, okay, where's the respect of the process of what affirmative action is to be? You're respecting that you've got people of minority who are just as skilled, just as educated, who deserve a chance. And that's who you should be looking at. You're not picking someone, well, he's black, he applied, I'm hiring him because now my quota's filled. You haven't changed anything, and you've actually made it worse because now the white person who may not have been racial, who may not have been prejudiced, gets passed over, and he knows why. Now all of a sudden, well, shoot, these doggone minorities are taking my job. It's a delicate line to cross, and I don't really know how to overcome it. But again, it takes it back to respect. If me as a boss, if I respect the fact that, okay, I have this mandate, I should have to hire a minority. However, I've got to do right by my company. So I'm going to hire the best skilled minority. He's got to be equal. He's got to prove his worth to me because that makes my company stronger as a whole. Okay. If you respect the core value of what it is you're trying to accomplish, then it'll work. But we're losing sight of that. We're losing sight of, like I keep saying, we're losing respect of the processes of what's going on. Everyone's just trying to fill this position, fill that position, do this. I'm saying this, taking it back to what you said, these career politicians, it becomes less and less about serving the public, being a public servant, and becomes more and more about how I can get elected the next term. All of a sudden, new legislation is always released at the time of an election. Why? The measures that we've been begging for is always enacted at the time of election. Why? If you had enacted this from the get-go, you wouldn't have to do this. It's like taking a test. If you pay attention in class from the get-go, you don't have to cram for the test. If you do your basics every day and practice your movement every day, you don't have to be worried about going to a tournament. You know, I didn't, I didn't have to worry about stepping on the mat with you because I knew I was training just as hard as you were. I knew I was going to be very difficult. I knew you were going to hit me very hard at some point, and I knew I was going to hit you, or at least try to, but I didn't worry. I didn't say, okay, tomorrow's Wednesday, Ben's going to be at the dojo. Let me get out in this bag and start. No, I didn't have to do that because I've been doing that all along, same way you've been doing it all along, okay? If you respect yourself, hear yourself, you will respect others because you realize I'm worth something. And if I can realize about myself, I can realize about you. So you're worth something.
Yeah.
Taking it
And
back,
fun.
like you said, it is terrible that Biden said that because in my mind, I'm looking like, I was really pleased when he announced her candidacy because I've done some work. I said, oh, she's pretty qualified. She's got some stuff. But then that in my
Maybe.
mind, there's that I'm picking her. I want a minority woman. Ooh, bro. Ooh, I got a
Yeah,
problem with that. I do have a problem with that.
that's good. And we should. It's funny you talk about the Wednesday nights at the dojo or whatever and tournaments and the way that we came up. Sensei was adamant pretty much that we did not train for tournaments.
We did
You
not.
know, because that was his thing. If you're doing what you need to do on a daily basis, you don't have to train for a tournament. The week before, whatever, if you were going to do kata or weapons that weekend, you might spend extra time on that particular kata. But as far as like a fight camp or something like, we see professional fighters do, or, 3 weeks before, our training regimen didn't really change. Because, we weren't training, we competed and we did well, but that wasn't the really why we were training. We were training for life issues. And, I heard him say more than once, you're not going to get to warm up on the street. When it happens, it happens. Him, Master Woods, he's like, you're not going to step back and bow to somebody on the street. It's going to pop off and you're going to have to go to work. So you better be ready to do it. And that was just, again, respect for the situation, right? You just, like we talked about in the beginning, you come in ready, prepared.
Yeah, you do your preparation at home. I know one of the things that I do, and I'm pretty sure you do it too. Before I come to the dojo, I'm at home in my safe environment and I'm stretching and I'm this and I'm that. So when I come in, I'm ready to work. And you notice that that's a thing too, like one of the things like when you talk about on your jobs, it's funny in the plant, when that bell rings at 5 a.m., that line starts. Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to prep or whatever, you get there an hour early so you can prep whatever. And a lot of jobs, other jobs I've seen, like retail. I used to work retail years, like in the banks and offices. A lot of times you start at 9, but there's a casual buildup. You may drink your coffee, you chat with your buddies, and you go. And I have no problem with that. There's nothing wrong if that's the environment you work in, whatever. But to me, the plant drives home the concept that martial art drives home. When a fight happens, you just better be ready. When that line starts, you better, that's it. And that
Yeah.
line rolls until it stops. There is no cool down period. The same intensity you started with at 5 a.m., that's the intensity you're ending with at 3:30 p.m. And
Yeah.
that's,
Consistency.
it's consistency. And so I got to respect that process. I respect that. So I make sure that I'm at work early enough to get myself settled. I make sure that I've got enough food to last me through the day so I can keep my energy up, so I can still be at peak performance, okay? I make sure that I'm doing my job to the best of my ability so that the next person who's in the same crappy situation as I am can do his job to the best of their ability. And that's something we learned at the dojo. We trained hard so that whoever we were fighting in the dojo, whoever we were training with, we were respecting their time. This was one of the best lessons I ever learned is from Master Mike Schaefer. And I remember everyone's always on Ishinru with our vertical fist and the importance of that thumb and keeping that thumb locked in. And you hear about it, and you hear about it, you hear about it. And one day I was doing my kata, and Master Schaefer, he looked at my hand. He says, "Hey, you know how Master Schaefer is direct. He does not, he's always respectful. He's always polite, but he is direct. He
Yeah.
says, you got that hand open, you're going to get your fist broke. And he says, what you do is think about a pebble and lock your thumb on that pebble and hold that pebble. Every time you punch, you're holding that imaginary pebble. He said, if you do that, that's what you should be thinking. To this day, every time I punch, I'm thinking about that pebble, okay? And I love the fact that this, at the time, I think he might have been maybe a 5th or 6th degree at the time. But this person who was a master, who I'm going to show respect to, he saw something that I did, and he came over and did not talk down, did not chastise. He respected my effort and said, let me show you what you can do to make this. And it was simple. It didn't make me feel like, you have some teachers, they want to, let me show you how good I am by doing this and that. And I like the fact that that was one of the most valuable lessons I learned in terms of holding the fist. And And I really appreciate that. And that showed me just the integrity of what a master should be. He extols the knowledge without making you feel that, you better be glad I'm talking to you. And that's something Master Adams is adamant about. He's like, look, one thing the sensei, and he talks about it a lot. He says, you go to some dojos, you will not see 6, 7, 8 degrees on the mats with other students. He says, I'm going to be on the mat because you're my student. So you can only be as good as your teacher. So if I'm the top teacher, I've got to get on the mat. And you can never think that you're above anybody. Master Adams is, Master Woods is the same way. He's like, you are only as good as your teacher. So if I'm training hard and I'm showing you, you're going to be as good, at least as good as me.
Right.
Which means I got to really train hard. They're respecting the fact that we want to learn. So we respect their knowledge, they're respecting our effort. It just goes back and back around circular, everything we learn in the dojo, and for those of us maybe just tuning in or who haven't heard us, we really talk about things that how our dojo training on and off the mat. Respect is one of those core things that the dojo is founded upon that you must have in life, starting with self-respect. You must have that. And until we find that, until this country can get back to that, whew, we in for some rough time.
Yeah,
We in
that's
for some rough
crazy.
time.
We're so fortunate. I think you mentioned it there that in a lot, as Master Adams would say, in a lot of dojos, you don't get the head instructor on the mat. And I just looking back, I don't know if the people realize how fortunate we are. It's easy looking back, right? That hindsight's 2020. But at any one time, we would have a dozen black belts on the mat with 20 or 25 cues, and they would be from first degree black belt to ninth degree black belt. And you might have 2 or 3 first degree black belts, and then it was second, third, fourth, fifth, eighth, ninth, and they all worked. Nobody watched. We were, we would, there was no one on the mat that you hadn't seen do what they were asking you to do. We didn't come up in a culture where it was do as I say.
Not as often.
Everybody led by example. And that's, they're taking that outside, whether I'm in my own dojo, that's my business. You know what I mean? I'm the head instructor there. I'm still the guy cleaning the mats. I'm still the guy cleaning the bathroom, taking out the trash. There's no job that is beneath anybody if the job needs done.
If you walk into Southfield today, you will see during class, Master Adams, when he gets off the mat, he walks through and he picks up every little piece of paper he finds. And I said, Sensei, I can do that for you. He goes, I can do it too.
Yeah.
I mean, those are classic examples of what you're saying. Like you said, your dojo, you're the head guy, but students you gotta see them. And I'm sure that goes back to your family situations. If your sons see you respecting your wife, then they're going to grow to respect their wives. My sons know we have one rule in my house: mom's the queen. That's the rule. That is the only rule. Mom's the queen. I probably mentioned that before. And I respect that. Yeah, sometimes I get mad at mom. They see that, but they also see me and say, what, hon, I apologize for that. You were right. Be willing to show that, like you said, from the ground up, in the dojo, out of the dojo. Because I can be honest with you, we would always remember in Southfield, we would always, when it was time to clean up, it would always be like a fight. Oh, I'll get it. Oh no, I can get it. Oh no, I can get it. Because we didn't want Sensei to have to come out and pick up nothing. I don't want you to do that. I want to do that because I appreciate this. You know what I'm saying? So there was that respect given and shown both ways, which is, and like you said, Master Phillips, Master Reggie Phillips, one of the coins, and remember the Saturday beatdowns. Woo, we used to learn so much. But one of the phrases he's coined is, don't be a coffee don. And he says a coffee don are those guys who, while the training's going on, they're walking around the mat with their arms folded as if they're sitting there with a cup of coffee. He says, do not be a coffee don. If you're going to get out there on this mat, you better be doing a kata. You better be doing something. Do not be a coffee don.
Nobody should leave without sweat on their forehead.
I cannot ask you You know, you could not ask anyone, and I'm going back to your video because yes, I watched it again. You can't ask any of your students to practice those movement drills if you didn't practice them yourself.
No.
Okay, all you got to do is say, look at this man, how he moves. He is practicing what he preaches, so I better respect his knowledge and practices as well. And you're respecting my desire to learn from you by showing me that what I'm telling you works because I'm doing it and you see me doing it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And that, you know what, you take that same attitude outside the dojo, and like you said, you take it into your house. My wife doesn't necessarily, again, kind of like your wife, she stays at home, but she does a lot here. This is her job, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I can't do things here. I can do laundry. It's no big deal. If I go in there and there's the washer's empty and there's clothes on the ground, or in the floor there that she separated out, I do that all the time. I'll take clothes out of the washer, put them in the dryer, whatever. There should be no job that's beneath you. To cook a meal at home, wash a dish, simply take your trash from point A to point B. Nothing irritates me more than to have somebody in my home here that, my grandkids or whatever, go in there, get something to eat, maybe go sit down, watch TV, and then they get up and leave, go outside to play or whatever. And I look back and, there's a pop can and a plate or whatever left on the table. That's complete disrespect for my wife and I, to think that it's our job to pick up after you. No, and even in the work environment, we have a professional cleaning crew that comes in. They're not direct employees of our company. It's a contracted crew. But, I don't know why we as a society sometimes see that as a lesser activity. We all do it. We all do it in our homes. Why should we look down on people who do that as a profession? I respect anybody who gets up and goes out and hustles to make a living. I treat those people with the utmost respect. Very courteous to them. It's difficult moving those carts around. I try to make it as easy as I can for them. Hold the doors, whatever. Because if you're putting in the effort, I respect that. Got to.
You respect their value because you respect your value.
Yeah.
At the plant, we have the same thing. We have the cleaning crew that goes through, and every time if I'm happen to walking by or interact, when I see them do something, I always say, "Hey, thanks for keeping this clean for us. We really appreciate it. Thanks." I thank the contractors that are there now. The guys, they're everywhere, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'll ask them. You know me, Vince. I'm curious. I'm always asking questions, but I'll say, so what's this that's happening here? And they'll say this, and that. And I say, okay, well, you know what? Thanks for telling me. Thanks for taking the time. I know I'm bugging you. And a lot of times I say, you know what? No problem. But I respect that you're trying to make this plant work for me to do my job. I respect that. I'm not going to be, oh, he's in my way. I got to get up and move so they can do this. No, we've got to respect the effort that other people are putting in because we want them to respect the effort we're putting in.
Yeah.
And Master Wood was always quick to say, he said, in the dojo, if you lose respect, I'll help you find it real quick.
Yeah, we were blessed in the fact that it was, we were never, and that's the thing about a good dojo is you will be humbled. It's hard to be arrogant. It's really, really hard to get arrogant in a good dojo, and because I don't care what. There's always some point there that you will be humbled. Like I said, we were very fortunate in the Southfield situation where there was just great technicians, and the moment you thought you were getting good, there was somebody that would check you real quick. I remember one night in particular, it's not that I thought I was being good, but you know, it was again kind of before Davison had closed up. But on Wednesday nights, uh, Sensei Early and Sensei Rice would be there at the Southfield Dojo, you know, and it was like probably the first time I ever got to spar with Charles Rice, you know, Sensei Rice. So we were moving around. I was I was a green belt at the time. And so we were just moving around and, you know, I threw a quick back fist, you know, and again, he probably wasn't well, he obviously wasn't expecting it because I landed it. And that was my bad. You know, I didn't know it at the time. I thought I did something good, but so maybe he didn't respect my technique as much as he should have that night. But so I landed this back fist and he stepped back and he goes, "Oh, he's got some speed, huh?" And then I got humbled because, yeah, I never laid another. I spent the rest of the night covering up and, you know, dodging, but it was great though. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Learned a
We had
lot.
you learn it. I had a similar instance with Master Burt Maven on the Saturday trainings. And you know,
Yeah.
if anyone's out here listening to this, if you ever had the pleasure of working with Master Maven, he is a great technician, but sometimes his lessons are very painful.
Yeah.
You better pay attention. And he would always come in Saturdays after. You remember we would have the battle down Saturday after class. We would stay with Master Phillips. And we were in there training, and I mean, I was on fire that day. And I was able to get same thing, a back fist. I got a back fist in on him, and it popped him, and he was like, "Whoa, okay." And I just said, "Yeah, man," my head swelled up. And let me tell you, for the next 10 or 15 minutes, I was like you. I mean,
Yep.
that man hit me every which way this Sunday. And what was funny is in the locker room, he said, "You know, I had to take you down, right? Because you get to the point." He said, "Oh, I got to take you a little more serious." He said, "That's a good thing." And to me, that was like one of the highest compliment that this established fighter who was basically death on 2 feet is not taking me seriously. So it's going to force him to go up a little bit. You respected my technique enough to, you know, I love that. I love those beat downs, man. You know, I love
Yeah.
those. We've all had those. Master Phillips, same thing. He threw a hook kick one time and I blocked it and he jumped back and said, "Whoa, good block." He said, "I got to do something different." Next thing you know, he hit me. You've been hit with one of those key taps, haven't you? Yeah. Well, I got that. And he's like, again, he says, "Well, your skills are progressed, so I can do other stuff now." And you love that because they're respecting your effort by stepping up their game and beating you down. And to me, those aren't beat downs. Those are learning opportunities. Because if you never got hit, you wouldn't learn anything.
No.
Every
That's
time you push them, that shows that they're respecting your efforts and I'm respecting your teaching because I'm going to keep trying to hit you.
exactly.
Okay, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to respect the fact that you're better than me, so I'm going to keep on trying to hit you. But you know, the dojo is full of stories where people are just they come in with the big heads, and you know they go out with the little heads.
That's it.
You know, some people are super arrogant, but I'm gonna tell you, there's a one of our masters, Master Harold Gibbs. When you're fighting this guy is a demon. He wants to kill you. But when you step off that mat, I mean, I see him work with the kids. I mean, Harold is like a big teddy bear, you know, at certain now. Don't get it wrong. You get on his bad side, or what's going to be on. But I love that on the mat, he's coming at you. Off the mat, he's going to respect the fact that we're off the mat now.
Yep.
And I always like that about our black belts and our students that we train with, that when we're in there going at it, you know, we're trying to kill each other, no doubt. But when we're done, that's it. We respect that. As Sensei said, this is a training hall. We're here to train. Outside of here, we're here to live. I've got to take that respect that I've learned and I've got to apply it to my everyday way in life. To this day, we still say Mr. Ellis and Mr. Gulley. You
Yeah.
know, had a conversation with Sensei Loveless last night. I called him, we were talking, and I said, I want to, you know, at some point we would love to get you on and interview with some stuff. He was like, great. And he said, you know what, Art? He says, "Do you mind if I call you Art?" knowing this man for years, I said, it doesn't matter. He says, but I call you, he said, please stop calling me Sensei. I said, I like to call you Sensei Loveless because your name is so cool, Sensei Loveless. That is just, it just rolls off the tongue. But we don't do it as an act of subservience. It's because that's your title.
Yeah.
And I respect that about you, and that's just how we're brought up. Every now and then you'll say Vince, you say Art, I'll say Vince. But a lot of times it's like, hey, Sensei, hey, Mr. Ellis, because that's the respect. I can show you that I have that respect for who you are as a man, who you are as a martial artist, who you've become as a father, engineer. I respect you. So if the one little thing I can do is just say, Mr. Ellis, I want you to acknowledge. I do that with people at work. If I don't know your last name, you're Mr. First Name. If I don't know the young ladies, it's like, it's not, hey, Susan. Hey, I say, hey, Miss Susan. Especially someone who's older than me. I'm definitely going to respect that. And unfortunately, it's not too many people at the plant that's older than me now. I've become the old man. But still, I want to respect that.
It's amazing how that can set the tone for a conversation. Just a
Hmm.
simple greeting like that, or that acknowledgement of the person, just to say Mr. Gulley, or you said, I mentioned Pat Young in one of the previous episodes with her silence is acceptance comment, but I call her Miss Pat. I don't call her Miss Young, but if we're in a meeting, it's Miss Pat, or one of the guys wants to know some information, I'll say, go ask Miss Pat, because she knows, she knows all that stuff. But that completely sets the tone of a cordial conversation, as opposed, to me coming up to you and saying, dude, what's up, or yo, bro, something like that. The conversation is going to be at a less quality level than if I come up and say, Mr. Gulley or Sensei, Gulley, what, it's just crazy.
Your attention is immediately level. They say, okay, we're about to talk about something.
Yeah, this person has approached me with a level of seriousness and respect, and now we can engage in a cordial conversation.
Mm-hmm.
From both aspects, and if you come up to me and address me in a proper manner, Mr. Ellis or Sensei or whatever, in like response, it's probably going to be, yes sir, what can I do to help you?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to respond with the proper verbiage to acknowledge you in return.
Mm-hmm.
Yes sir, yes ma'am, what can I do? It's interesting too that you were speaking earlier about the whole affirmative action thing, and it's really the whole thing of racism and the fact that we need affirmative action and all. It really all boils down to a complete lack of respect for each other as human beings.
It does.
I like to watch, kind of like you're a musician. I'm not a musician, but I like music. And there's a show on television called The Voice. I really like the way they do that, in the fact that it's blind audition, right? All the chairs are turned, and all you get to hear is the performance
Mm-hmm.
behind you, and then they have to make a decision simply based on that criteria. I think more job interviews should, be done. And I don't like the fact of doing it with the, blind necessarily, but if you could blind yourself mentally and really just look. And it's good that we get a resume in advance, and we read people's credentials, so you kind of make a predetermination, and you may sort through, and my top 5 are right here based on that. But then you do your face-to-face interviews, and it's just crazy that and again, the whole premise of what we're trying to do here is lessons in the dojo, and how it filters out into our everyday lives. But ultimately, for myself, and then I think for you also, we share core Christian values. Yeah. If I can't respect you as a person who has been created in the image of God, there's a problem with that. There's a problem with that. And I think that's a big problem in our country today is all too often we're asked to remove God from the equation. And you look out into, human beings, we're not simply animals. If you're a
We're
Christian,
spiritual beings.
yeah, if you're a Christian, you understand that. And there's a part of our world here in the United States, there's a movement that would have us, the whole humanistic thing would remove God from the equation. And when we do that, it lessens us as people. And we're reduced to that in the animal kingdom. Nobody faults the lion, when he goes out and devours a gazelle, because that's what lions do. In turn, if that's the theology that that you want to follow, or if that lion in the same way beats down the lioness and has his way with her, reproduction in the animal kingdom is not always pretty. There's not a lot of love involved, so when we start reducing ourselves, there is zero respect in the animal kingdom. There's fear, and there's a pecking order in certain animal herds and things like that, group type animal activity, but it's generally derived from force. That pecking order is derived from force. In a pack of wolves, you have an alpha male, you have an alpha female. That's because they've kicked everybody's butt.
Right.
And they're the woman, and they're the ones that get to reproduce, and everybody else don't. So, people should be very careful when they want to reduce humans to simply animals. If I were to ever adopt that theology, I would be a dangerous person.
And that's where you have the core of racism, and not
Yeah.
just against blacks, but throughout history, from the beginning of man, one race wants to relegate another to the role of animals.
Yeah.
The Egyptians, they wanted to relegate the Hebrews. They turned them into animals.
Yeah.
The Europeans, they wanted to turn the Indians into animals. They turned my people into animals. And that's your core of racism, because at that point, you stop seeing this person as a person. And if it's systematically bred throughout generation, now 400 or 500 years later, it's an ingrained fact that Black man is not really a man. He's basically an animal. He's substandard. A Mexican Latino man is not really a man. He's substandard. If you constantly perpetuate that, and supposedly affirmative action should take care of that, legislation should take care of that, but the problem is, how do you reach the person? I'm not sure if I'm phrasing it right, how do you flip the switch? Just tell a person, like, how can I go to a grandmaster of the Ku Klux Klan and flip the switch to say, dude, you want to hang, tar, and feather this person because of the color of his skin. This particular person has done nothing to you. You do not know this person. He has not affected you in any way. But because he is Black, you want him gone, humiliated, dead, emasculated, whatever. How do you reach that person? How can you flip the switch? Because if I impose my will upon you, you will give this person a chance. You will treat this respect. That doesn't solve the problem. It may make it a little better for the minority, but it doesn't solve the problem of racism. It doesn't solve it, because you don't have respect for that person, that minority, that woman as a person. You don't have the respect. So my question is, how do we, as a society, as people, as men and women, how do we figure out how to flip that switch? Or can it even be flipped? As a species, are we capable of flipping that switch and saying, wait, stop. He's a man, I'm a man. The Bible says, Jesus Christ, the greatest commandment, when he says, do unto others as you would have do unto yourselves. How can you hold that truth? How can you wear the cross, profess? How can you drink the blood of Christ and then go burn the cross on somebody's house because they're Black? Can I, profess to love Jesus and then look at you crazy because you flying a Confederate flag? Even though you've always treated me with respect, the fact that I see a Confederate flag, now, whoa, 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 you're a racist, dog. Okay, how can I do that if I can't mentally flip the switch and say, wait, how has this person treated me? What has this person done to me? Does he deserve this treatment that I'm giving him? How do we as a people change that? And I think by you suggesting we do this, I'm hoping that by us having conversation, I'm hoping we're planting seeds in people's minds that will say, well, how do we do that? It starts with just one person at a time. It starts with the person you see in the mirror. I'm hoping that we're, like I said, planting seeds, and I'm hoping that the discussion we have will help make a difference someday. You know, besides the fact that I always love talking with you, I'm hoping that we are going to make a difference because accountability, integrity, respect, at the end of the day, these are just words. How do we get people to realize the concept behind these words? How do we get people to embrace them? How do we make the world a better place? That's the question, man.
Yeah. We're rolling up on that 90-minute mark, so we'll
Ready?
probably, if we wrap this up, and I agree,
Yeah.
Again, to answer that, that's a deep, deep pool, but one person at a time. I agree with what you're saying there, and that is exactly why I think I wanted us to come together and do this as a teacher, as a father, a grandfather, watching the world that my kids and grandkids are going to have to come up in,
Right.
especially right now. It's concerning.
Very.
Very concerning, because it appears like the divide is getting worse.
Right.
And,
Everything's been brought to the light and everything is out of the darkness now. But
yeah, it's crazy.
where's the resolution? You
Well,
know?
it comes down to individual, all the things that we've been talking about. These are the building blocks of self-improvement, which will then improve society.
Right.
And again, for you and I, and for anybody who chooses to take that path, we have seen we have seen these systems put in place through our martial arts training,
Mm-hmm.
and tried to take that out, into our homes, into our jobs. So we've seen the value of it. In as far as respect and hierarchy and things like that, I think the dojo, and a good traditional dojo, that is a microcosm of society. So we get to see a lot of things play out.
Right.
And respect for the lower rank from the teacher is fundamentally important. We have to respect the fact that they're there, that they are a willing student, and as a teacher, I want to give them as much as they can take at that time. I also have to respect that, right? I have to respect their limitations,
Yes.
but at the same time, not hold anything back to a student who can maybe take a little bit more.
Right.
And regardless of how that person may look, regardless of color, religion. Again, I'm a Christian, and as a Christian, I'm gonna do my part in sharing with other people what my values are and what my beliefs are. But at the same time, I don't have to beat you over the head with a Bible. All I got to do is give you the information, and if you don't want to do anything with it, I get it. That's up to you. That doesn't mean that we can't have a professional relationship. And we saw that play out in Southfield. We had a very diverse ecosystem there in our dojo.
And we still do.
Yeah, really, it's hard for me though. It's hard for me to think that as a society we will ever be able to respect one another outside the if we can't respect the humanity of our fellow persons, it'll be very difficult for us to move forward. Just simple respect for life. A topic that we didn't touch on today, and I kind of wish we had time, but I don't know that we want to drag this on much longer. But respect for, we talked about politicians, but there's so many other offices like law enforcement. You know, complete disrespect for law enforcement in our country today. And
We
I
can
have a lot
touch
of
on it.
friends that,
We can
yeah, I have a
touch on it
lot of
because
friends
that's
that
so
work in law
important.
enforcement that, you know, those guys get up every day, those guys and women, you know, and put themselves in harm's way. You know, their job is to get between you and something harmful. Our military, you know, lack of respect for our military. The previous administration, you know, going back to the Obama years, there wasn't a lot of respect for what the military did. You know, there wasn't the funding there to get the job done.
I can agree with that.
Those are
I can agree with that.
cornerstones of our of that's what's going to keep our, you know, we are able to live the way that we live because there are things in place like the military, like law enforcement. You know, those are the things that should separate us from the things that would tear us down.
There's a
So
line that sums up with the core belief of the military. There's a line in the movie A Few Good Men, and it's an excellent movie if anybody's ever watched it. Toward the end of the trial, there's a situation. There's a soldier, he's not doing right. They try to haze him and they beat him up. And one of the characters asks Demi Moore's character, she's really defending these guys, and he asks her, he says, "Why do you love them so much?" And this line really cuts to the heart of it, because they stand on the wall and they say, "Nothing's going to hurt you tonight, not on my watch." That is what the military is to me.
yeah,
Those men and women, they're standing on a wall and they're saying, "Nothing's going to hurt you tonight." And I've got to give them respect. We as a people have to give them respect. If you want to change, then you talk to the legislation. Let's talk to the politicians. Let's figure out a way to get our officers home. You know, our men, women, boys, children, husbands, fathers, daughters, sons, nieces, nephews. Let's figure out how to get them home so they do not have to constantly man that wall. But I am not going to disrespect them for being on that wall, and I am not going to look down on them because of what they've become because they were on that wall. We've got to support our veterans. They are wounded, they are distraught, they are displaced. There is no reason any veteran in this country should go without. They should not have to fight for medical resources, home resources. There is no reason. As a country, we have got to support our veterans. People, if we do nothing else in this century, in your lifetime, if you do nothing else, please acknowledge that our veterans are there to protect us. Is the military, does it have corruption? Of course it does. Show me an aspect of life that doesn't. The church is corrupt in areas. The dojo is corrupt in areas. Show me an aspect of life that does not have it. But respect the effort that those men and women are doing. They chose. Same thing with our police officers. Are there corruption? Are there bad cops? Are there racist cops? Of course. Yes, because that's the nature of the beast. But the good outweigh the bad. Respect the fact that this man, this woman has chosen to say, today, I'm going to get up and I'm going to put myself between that potential bullet and you. Respect that. And show respect by acting a little better. Stop doing crazy stuff. If you get pulled over for a ticket, have your license stuff waiting. Stop provoking controversy, okay?
yeah,
I've said it. I'm a black man in Detroit. I've been stopped by the cops numerous times. Most of those cops have been white. And I've always been treated with respect. I've always been treated with respect. Now, because I'm a black man, I knew to have my license ready and not to act a fool, which
yeah,
in itself is a problem too. But the respect I shown was given back to me. Now, I've been fortunate, and I worry about my boys every day when they go out, now that they're driving. I pray that they don't run across one of these racist SOBs, whether it's a black racist or a white racist, because they are racist to each other in their own cultures as well. I just, I pray for that. But in the meantime, I'm still going to have respect for the effort that these officers are trying to do. I'm going to have respect for the military, what they're trying to do. I'm losing respect for my politicians because you're more concerned with staying in office than serving us, okay? And bringing it on back all the way to the dojo, we say that we do this so that you can see how the core values of the dojo, how the core values of being martial arts can help the world. This is a question that I want to put to all my fellow martial artists out there, because I think we have the power to make the world better if we take what we learn and take it to the world. Ask yourself this question: are you a martial artist, or are you just a person studying martial arts? Because if you're a martial artist, you will understand these core values and you will strive to be better. If you're just a person studying martial arts, keep on moving.
Yeah, there's a big difference. I always like to equate, a fighter to a martial artist. There's a big difference between a guy who's just training to fight and, someone who's truly trying to understand what the martial arts is all about. And that's the do in karate do, that path, as opposed to the jitsu or the art of self-defense. How do we move forward? I can't change you and you can't change me. It all comes back to the individual. I can share information with you and you can share information with me, and hopefully we have respect for each other and we listen. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to fight on a national team, and one of the head coaches, Professor Sean Chitwood from Columbus, Ohio, credit him with this statement, and it stuck with me a lot. And this goes way beyond the mat, but he made a point to telling everybody there, if you win or lose, doesn't really matter, but why you lose may matter. He made it a point to say, you may come up against a superior opponent and they may out technique you, but you need to control what you can control. For example, your cardio. You shouldn't gas. You're preparing to go into a multiple round situation. So if you're going to have to fight, whatever length of competition you may be fighting in, you shouldn't gas. And I'm not saying I took his words 100% to heart. And if I did ingest them, unfortunately, I'm probably not as cardio, my cardio is not in the condition that it should be in. But, this guy runs on 100% all the time. He does it on the mat. He does it in his life. His business runs great. He truly lives that. And I think all these subjects that we're touching on, we really have to look back and say, am I showing this in my life? Am I holding myself accountable? We talked about accountability. Am I acting in a way that shows integrity? We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Am I showing respect? I challenge, anybody that hears this to take note, do a self-analysis, in the way that you talk to people and in the amount of respect that you give. My wife and I went to dinner last night, and the waitress that served our table was so respectful to us. Yes, sir. No, sir. Would you like this, sir? Would you like this, ma'am? Is there anything that I can do for you, ma'am? And just her mannerisms made me take note. It was a very pleasant experience. I appreciated the way she did her job. And again, most people would potentially look down on a person in that situation or having to do that sort of job. But she obviously had enough respect in herself that she did that job, to the best of her ability. And she was happy to do it. She was very pleasant, and very respectful. So as we move forward through these conversations, we're probably not going to change the world overnight. But again,
one thought at a time. If we can just change one thing at a time.
Yeah, martial arts is internal. It's a group environment, or it's a group environment, but it's all about self, right? It's self-respect, self-discipline, self-defense. we're only as strong as the weakest link in the chain.
Right.
So what are you going to do today to strengthen your link? That's what it's all about. So this next
There it
week,
is.
I just challenge everybody to
Mhm.
notch up your respect for those around you. Notch up your respect for yourself. You know, when you get up in the morning, are you prepared for the day? Respect what you have to do that day and be prepared and respect those that you encounter.
And on that note, as always, we're going to respect the time of those listening to us by calling it. We want to thank you for joining us. We hope we're making a difference. Sensei Ellis and myself are very passionate about our beliefs on and off the mat, and we try to live by those beliefs. We're men, we make mistakes, we acknowledge our mistakes, we correct them, and we move forward. And that's what we have to do. So, like Sensei Ellis said, prepare yourself, put forth that effort. Do you respect yourself enough to go out and be a better person? And on that note, Sensei Gulley saying, have a good day.
Sensei Ellis, also, have a good day. We'll see you all next time.